Hey cruising crew, and welcome back to the channel. I'm Alexis, and in today's video I'm going to be giving you guys my honest review of Icon of the Seas. So stay tuned because in this video I'm going to be going over the overall ship, the food, the venues, and so much more. So without further ado, hit that subscribe button and let's just get into it. So let's start off with the overall logistics. So getting to the terminal, getting through the terminal and onto the ship was an absolute breeze. So I thought that maybe since this is such a big ship that it might be a little bit of a process or might take longer than other ships. And I was so wrong. So when I got to the terminal, all the way until when I stepped foot onto the ship, it took about 5 to 10 minutes at the most. So if you're worried about a slow process boarding because it's such a big ship, there's a lot of people, have no worries. It's such a breeze. They have this process down. And if you come prepared with all your documents, your pass, everything like that, then you'll just be able to walk right on. And so with that, let's get into the overall ship appearance. So as I walked on board, I was absolutely blown away, as I knew I would be. This ship was absolutely massive and it was beautiful. It was very clean and modern. And I actually thought it was a little bit classy as well. All the furniture was really well kept up with. I did like the art. It was bright and vibrant, and I did like the overall look of the ship. Now, with the ship, I am going to say that I thought it might be super, super crowded, but I think because the ship is so big, it never really felt crowded. I think the only time that it really felt crowded was that first day, embarkation day, in the main Royal Promenade, like by the Pearl. That's because everyone's trying to check out everything. But other than that, it didn't really seem crowded. And I think that was one of my favorite things about this ship was that there were so many people on it, but it's so big, it didn't really feel crowded. Another thing that I really liked was how many different venues there were. So there are so many different bars, so many different restaurants included, and specialty. I was blown away with how much there is to do, to eat, to drink, all of that. I like how there's so many different kinds of venues. So depending on your mood, you can find somewhere to go and be. I did like how there's so much seating on this ship. I know it's a massive ship, but this has the best seating out of any Royal Caribbean ship that I have been on. And I thought that everything was just very well kept up. I liked the art, I liked everything about it. So for the overall ship appearance, I'm going to give it a 5 out of 5 stars. Okay, now let's get into one of my favorite things of cruising, and let's talk about food. So I'm gonna divide this into a couple of categories. So let's start off with all of the complimentary food. I will start off with saying that I was blown away with how much complimentary food there was on this ship. And I will also state that I did have a specialty dining package, so I got to eat all the specialties. However, I still want to talk about all the complimentary foods and rate what I had and what I think about it. So let's start off with, obviously you have the Windjammer buffet, and I will say this is probably the only place where it did feel crowded. Now I did walk through the Windjammer a lot just to check it out. It was crowded. However, on the first day there is a seafood buffet with like actual lobster tails and stuff like that. And so if you're a lobster fan and like stuff like that, then go the first day. It's worth it just to see that. So of course you have your pizza place like Sorrento's, Sprinkles ice cream. What I did like is at the very back of the ship on deck 6 and 7 was the Surfside area for kids, and they have complimentary food here. They have grab and go bites. They even have like a little buffet like for kids. They have chicken tenders, pizza, fries, stuff like that. I personally did not try this food, but it seems like a really good option for kids, or even if you like that kind of food as well, to just grab and go. And it was really nice. It's complimentary. That way, if kids are going to go get a snack, they don't have to worry about charging it to their room. Now, I didn't actually eat the food that was in the Surfside area because I did have the dining package and I just wanted to save my appetite and get most of my package. So I tried to stay away from all of those
included foods.
I also really liked that the Pearl Cafe right behind the Pearl had complimentary snacks as well. And I did notice that they had these snacks up until like 1, 2 a.m. So if you were up super late and you didn't want something heavy like pizza, this was a great option. They had grab and go stuff like hummus with vegetables or little sandwiches and pastries. And I thought that was a really good touch. I did get a little vegetable tray one night and I thought it was perfect. It wasn't too heavy, it was light enough and very enjoyable. Now, if you're into Mexican food and you like grab and go Mexican food, they do have Royal Caribbean's famous El Loco Fresh. This is great for making nachos or burritos or quesadillas, stuff like that. Again, I personally did not eat here on this cruising, but I have eaten a Loco Fresh so many times and it's always good quality. It's really nice to just grab and go. You can build yourself something like a Mexican bowl or nachos, and it's really convenient. They also have the base camp area, which is by the Thrill Water Park, and this is so convenient as well. If you're doing the water park for the day, this is just nice that you don't have to put on clothes to go to the Windjammer. You can just go here, order a hot dog, a burger, fries, stuff like that. And I thought this was such a good option, especially for those kids as well. Now, taking it on deck 8, you do have Central Park, and in Central Park, you do have the Park Cafe. Now, this is such a great option as well for like light eating. In the mornings, they have stuff like bagels, fruit, stuff like that. And then in lunchtime, they have sandwiches. You can build a salad, you can grab a fruit cup. This is such a nice option that it's included and it's in Central Park, which is super nice. So you can grab something light, sit in the park, and really enjoy it. Now, one of the biggest hits and one of my favorite complimentary foods that was available on Icon of the Seas was at the AquaDome market. So I was blown away with this. I didn't think it was going to be as good as it was. So you have a few options here.
I really liked the variety that the AquaDome Market had. They had a crepe station, a place called Ginger, which had like chicken, a mac and cheese called Max. The Mediterranean place was called Feta, and Toast and Garden.
And I personally really liked the like Mediterranean station where I got some um, pork or chicken and I put like tzatziki dressing on it or hummus and it was really delightful. We actually ate here a couple of times and I was blown away. And of course, you have the included main dining room for breakfast, lunch, and dinners. We did do one specialty thing, but it was in the main dining room. It was called the Taste of Royal, where we got to go and tour the galley. And so we did eat in the main dining room for that. And I will say the quality of food and the food itself was really great. So for the complimentary dining on board Icon of the Seas, you don't have to worry about going hungry. There's absolutely so much for everyone. Anything you're craving, you can find it on board. Now, if you're someone like me that really likes to have elevated dining on board cruise ships, and you're wondering if getting a dining package is worth it on Icon of the Seas, well, I'm going to answer or try to answer that question for you based off of my experience. So, we did have the dining package for Icon of the Seas, and before booking it, I will say I didn't really look at what specialty options they had. I kind of just assumed based off of my other cruises on the Oasis class ships. So let's get into where we dined and which specialty restaurants that we did go to and what specialty restaurants are available on board. So if you are a sports fan and you like watching sports, they do have the best playmakers at sea. So I usually like playmakers. They have really good burgers, wings, stuff like that, game day food. I was blown away. Icon of the Seas has an amazing playmakers. It has so many TVs. They were able to play every single football game that was on an NFL Sunday. Usually they'll play one or two of the most popular games, but this playmakers played every single game.
Playmakers was really great. And if you're like me and my husband and you can't miss a football Sunday, or if you play fantasy football, or if you have a team you can't miss, Icon Playmakers really is a game changer because unlike any other ship I've been on, they really do have every single game. I'd prefer if they had red zone, but I think that's just asking too much. But yeah, if you are a sports fan, this Playmakers is the best bar for you.
And it was packed. So Playmakers does provide food, like burgers, fries, onion rings, stuff like that. It is a extra cost, and if you do have the dining package, it is included. So that was really nice. One day we sat here and we got wings and fries, and they were really, really good. Also have Giovanni's Italian place. We did eat here for a lunch and a dinner, and I will say that I think this is more of a lunch spot. The dinner was kind of it was okay. We didn't really like fully enjoy either of our dishes, but it's a great option for lunch if you're looking for some good Italian. I do like this Giovanni's as well because they do have a little bar like kind of right in front of the restaurant. So it was really nice for us to go and sit at the bar, get a glass of wine, and then just walk to our table. I think that's a nice touch. Now let's take it into the park. So you do have your Izumi sushi and hibachi. We did both as well. We had Izumi for lunch. And I will say, like Izumi sushi, you can't go wrong with it. It's really good. We did have a good experience. And we also did the hibachi one night for dinner, which was absolutely great. I don't think we've ever had a bad hibachi experience. This hibachi on Icon is bigger than the other like Oasis class ships. And so that was really nice. We didn't really have to worry about getting a reservation. Like we were able to book it pretty well. This Izumi as well does it does have Izumi in the park, which is basically a little window you can go up to, grab a couple sushi rolls or a bubble cone, and sit in the park. Now this does cost extra, but of course, if you have that dining package, it is included. So it's kind of nice for a grab and go option, and to have a nice sushi. You then have Royal Caribbean's Steakhouse Chops, which is always a great time. It's I always know what to expect when I come here. I would recommend getting the 9 ounce filet. That's what I get every time, and I'm never really disappointed. I recommend getting the 9 ounce filet, cream spinach. You cannot go wrong. And if you do like a good dessert, I will say Chops sometimes has a really good red velvet cake. And what I've learned to do, which I did on this last time, is I will ask them if they have a fresh cake, like if they made it the day of. If they do make it the day of, I think that you should absolutely get the red velvet cake. It's so nice, it's moist, and it's a really good dessert. Now let's talk about some more seafood. So they do have Hooked Restaurant, which is located in the AquaDome. And I know most people have mixed reviews on Hooked, but we have always had a really good experience with this. Our service was good. I like the location because it's high up on the ship. It's on deck 15, and they have those all the windows that go all around. It's a really nice place to eat dinner, whether you're by the window or not. They also have some certain seatings outside of the restaurant, so that way, if you want to eat your dinner while watching the aqua show, you can do that. I wouldn't really recommend it. It seems too hectic. There's people that are standing in front of you. I don't know if that'll be an enjoyable dinner, but if you want to, you have the option. Now, I recommend always getting the coconut shrimp. I get it every single time, and I like to get the double lobster tail, which is really good. Usually, like they're not too big, so it's really nice. Now, located in Surfside is a restaurant called Pier 7, and this has like a good option of like quesadillas, poke bowls, stuff like that. We unfortunately didn't get a chance to eat here. Like I said, there's so many dining options on board this ship. There's like no way to try everything. But I did want to try it. It seemed pretty good. I never really saw anyone in there, so I don't know if that's kind of telling, but I would like to try that. Now, we also did an extra specialty restaurant deal called a Taste Royal. This was actually located in the main dining room and it was for lunch. We did have to pay extra for, and what was cool about this is you got to tour the whole kitchen, the galley. They explained how everything works, where they cook this and that, how they clean everything. And then you got a really nice, like 4 course meal for lunch. It was a little bit too much food, but the food quality was so there. And I had never really done this before. And so I'm really glad that we did it. I'm not sure I would do it all the time because it is an extra cost, but it was absolutely worth it. Now, on board Icon of the Seas, there is a really elevated, nice specialty restaurant that you can pay a lot of money for, and that is the Empire Supper Club. Now, I was absolutely super excited to try this before coming on board. However, I was a little skeptical because it is pretty pricey. So it is about $200 per person.
Now, since we did have the dining package, it was $130 per person plus gratuity, so it was a little discounted, which was nice.
And it is a fancy, formal restaurant. It's more intimate. It's nice. It is a fixed course meal along with a cocktail menu. And I was skeptical because paying $200 for one dinner is kind of crazy, especially when you already have the drink package. Now, who is this for? I think this is for any adult, couple, friends that are celebrating something or like an elevated experience. For us personally, we have nothing like this where we live back home. And so we really do like elevated dining experiences, stuff like that. If you're celebrating a birthday or a celebration anniversary, this is like something to really elevate your night and celebration. And I think that if you really enjoy live entertainment, good food, great cocktails, then this is 100% worth it. Now, as much as I did like every single one of these specialty restaurants, I was assuming that there would at least be a 150 Central Park. I do think that our dining package was well worth it. However, I would say I would like to see at least one or two more specialty restaurants added to the ship.
So, all the specialty restaurants on board Icon included Chops Grill, Giovanni's Italian Kitchen, Playmaker Sports Bar, Hooked Seafood, Starbucks, Izumi Hibachi and Sushi, Izumi in the Park, which is new, the Empire Supper Club, which is also new, Celebration Table, Pier 7, Deserted, and Trellis Bar.
Now, I'm going to answer the question, do I think that getting the ultimate dining package is worth it? Yes and no. So it was worth it for us because we do like that elevated food experience. However, I think next time if we go on an Icon class ship, we might opt out on the dining package just so we could try every other option as well. So if you do purchase the dining package or you go to these specialty restaurants, you're going to get the most out of your money. You're eating really good food, and so you're always full, which is such a good thing. However, if you did want to eat specialty restaurants plus other restaurants that are included, it's a little hard because it's a lot of food. You're always full. So it's kind of a give and take. So I would say a yes and no. Overall, I'm going to give the food on board Icon of the Seas a 5 out of 5 stars. Now let's get into drinks and bars on board Icon of the Seas. Wow, there are so many different bars. I don't think I've tried all of them, but there are so many to choose from. Whether you like high quality cocktails or beers, there is something for you. So I'm going to talk about some of my favorite bars that I went to on board Icon of the Seas and recommend what I got. So let's start off with Playmakers. Again, as well as it is a good restaurant, it is a good bar to just sit at, watch some football, watch some sports, and have a beer or something, an easy cocktail like that. I think this is a great bar to just chill and relax at. I will say this, since Playmakers was so big, it had a lot of games like pool, darts, stuff like that. There were a lot of kids in here at all times. So just keep that in mind. It is a loud, crowded bar usually. So if you don't mind that, if you like that kind of game day atmosphere, Playmakers is a great spot to hang out. Now, another unique bar on board Icon of the Seas is the Swim and Tonic Bar. Now, this is an adults only swim up bar that's in the pool. I think this is such a nice concept because first off, like there's so many different pools on board Icon of the Seas, but having at least a couple that are adults only is so necessary, especially because this is a very family oriented ship. It's nice for some adults to be able to get into a pool and be able to swim in a bar on a cruise ship. It was really nice. I will also say another big hit on Icon of the Seas was the Hideaway. So the Hideaway is 18 and over, and it's a certain area in the back of the ship where they have hot tubs. It has its own infinity pool, adults only, and this is a great spot to hang out. It's a great spot to grab a drink, to chill in the pool with. There actually is a DJ here at most times as well, which is really cool. I will say the only letdown of the Hideaway is that the infinity pool is right over Surfside. And so even though you're in that adult vicinity, whenever you look down from the infinite pool, you are looking at all the kids on the ship playing and splashing around. So maybe just don't look down, look out at the ocean. It's such a nice spot. Icon of the Seas still does carry on the lime and coconut vibe. So this is a really big lime and coconut bar. So many options as well. There's also an ice cream spot right next to it. And this is kind of like in the middle of the ship. It's really nice, really unique. I personally didn't get a drink here because it was really hot during my sailing. And so I mostly stuck to indoors whenever I was drinking. Another unique bar that I thought was really cool was in Central Park, and it was a bar called Bubbles. Actually, it was more like a window, not a bar. So it is basically like a champagne pop-up window that opens up. They only serve champagne there, and it was really unique, really cute, I thought, to be able to just walk in Central Park, grab a glass of champagne, and just be on your way. Super cute. Another bar that I thought was kind of overlooked, that was never really full when I was there, and I wish we would have hung out a little bit more, was in the Overlook. So this is located past the AquaDome, and the Overlook is such an amazing spot. Not only is the bar really cool, but this whole venue is so nice. So much nice seating. It's the very front of the ship, and it's really quiet and calm, and it's such a nice spot to hang out. I'm surprised this bar wasn't packed at all times, but however, I did think this bar was a hit. Now you do have your usual like pub bar, you have your schooner bar, your Boleros bar, all of the iconic Royal Caribbean bars are still there. There is one located on deck 5 that I thought to be probably my favorite, and this was the 1400 bar. So this was located in the middle of deck 5, right across from the pool, and I really liked this because even though it wasn't like extremely craft drinks, it was kind of elevated more than just your regular drinks, which I think Royal Caribbean has kind of been missing for the past couple of years. I think that what sets them different from like versus Celebrity is that they don't have a craft bar, which we like craft drinks. However, this bar, it was pretty unique. They do have a really cool signature drink called the 1400, which was, you just have to order it just for the experience to pop the bubble. It's really, really nice. The venue is nice. It's not very loud. And again, never felt crowded because there's so much seating everywhere, and the bar staff was really friendly. Now, if you are traveling with your kids and you're spending some of your time at the Surfside, there is a bar for adults. So in Surfside, they have the big kiddie pool where all the kids are playing. However, there is a bar for those parents to grab a drink while still being able to watch their kids responsibly. There are so many different bars that are on Icon of the Seas. However, I was not able to go to every single one of them because there's a lot to go to. These were just a few of my favorite bars that I recommend going to. I think my number one recommendation, if you go on Icon and you have a drink package, is to go to 1400, order that 1400 drink, and it's just such a fun time. Overall, for the drinks and bars on board Icon of the Seas, I'm going to give it a 4 out of 5 stars. Next, let's talk about entertainment on board Icon of the Seas. So since this ship is so big, there are so many different shows, entertainment options, you really can't get bored here. So let's start off with some of the shows. So let's start off with the ice show. This was located in Absolute Zero, which was a really unique ice skating rink. It was like circular, and I really liked the location of this. This was on deck 6. However, it was a little weird to get to. You do have to walk through some shops and playmakers to get there. However, I did like where it was located. It was easy to get to. There weren't really lines, and it's such a great venue. Now let's talk about the show. The show was okay. And I'm going to say that mostly because I'm not sure if like I was supposed to be laughing or taking it serious. The storyline was a little bit confusing. I felt like I was either in a 5th grade science class or I was watching an episode of Big Bang Theory. I wasn't sure if they were trying to be serious with it or not. So it was kind of really confusing. I did think the talent with his ice cast was okay. They had a lot of stumbles and they kept falling. And I know, like, I give them so much credit. They're being able to skate at the sea. But this cast was a little bit like not as talented, or maybe they were new or working out some kinks. So for the ice show, I think it was okay. I don't think I would watch it a second time. Next, we watched the Aqua Show, which was located in the AquaDome. This location is absolutely great. I will say I already like the AquaDome more than the Aqua Theater on the Oasis class ships. It's a covered venue. The seating was really nicely tiered. The robotics, the music, and all the talent on the show was really good. This is probably my favorite show that we went to. It was very lively, it had good music, it had good atmosphere, and I was really impressed with all of the electronics and everything that that pool can do. We then saw the production show, The Wizard of Oz. I actually really enjoyed this. I really like the storyline of The Wizard of Oz. However, I think that they should make this show maybe like 20 minutes shorter. It was a really long show to sit through, but I was engaged the entire time. The cast was really good, really talented, and would put it up there with one of the better production shows. You also had the dueling pianos bar, which was so cool. I love this idea so much. They did have two people on separate pianos, and we did spend one night here. It was a lot of fun. However, I will say it's not really dueling pianos. They were just kind of singing their own songs, taking turns. They weren't really dueling it out. So I was a little confused by that. Nonetheless, it's a great spot to hang out. It was really nice. They had nice music, but it's not really a dueling piano. So just letting you know that beforehand. We also have the jazz bar in Central Park, which was really cool. I thought the singer was amazing. She really had that jazzy feel to it. I'm surprised that it wasn't as full as it should have been. Like there was hardly anyone in there at all times. But then again, like I said before, the ship did not feel crowded, which was absolutely great. The music hall was such a great spot to hang out for so many different reasons. So they held game shows in here, like Majority Rules, Yes or No Game Show. And this was a great venue because it was so big. It's 2 stories. And we ended up meeting a couple that we went to a few of the game shows with. It was so much fun, very interactive. And what I liked is after the game shows, they turned this music hall into the nightclub, which was very lively, one of the better nightclubs on any royal ship. And so I thought this was a good use of space.
So for us, this was more of a party cruise. So having an actual nightclub that we could party and dance late night was so much fun and something you want to find on every ship.
They also have the Comedy Club, which I really like for Royal Caribbean ships to have its own venue for comedy clubs because I think that if you make it more intimate, it makes it more of a comedy club feeling. And so there were 3 comedians on this ship. They were all really good, and we got good seats. As long as you make those reservations, you can get good seats at any of the shows. Now, a thing that I will add in is since this is a mega ship, since it is really big, you do need to make reservations for everything. And even if you don't think that you're going to make it one night or going to make it one day, just make those reservations. It's better to have them rather than not. If you do have reservations, you're able to go basically whenever. So 10 minutes before the show starts is when they open the doors to anyone. So what we like to do is just show up like a minute before that 10-minute mark and get a better seat. And then when everyone else fills in, you already have a decent seat. There are so many different activities to do on board. So the daily planner is just jam packed filled. So you can also do stuff like laser tag during the day, which is located in the ice skating rink. You can go to so many different pools. There's so much to do. There is a sports court that never really felt like it was crowded again because it was so big and it had its own area. And the water slide. So the Thrill Water Park on board Icon of the Seas was really cool. We ended up staying on board when we were in port one day. We were able to do the slides because everyone was off. I will say there were like 2 or 3 slides that were out of commission and weren't working. So I was pretty sad that we couldn't try them. However, I love that the ship has this option, especially for kids. I feel like since they have this option at the top, like kids aren't going to be at the main pools, although they were at some of the pools. It's just such a great option. It's so cool that they have this water park on board a cruise ship.
The best water slide by far was the Storm Surge one. You can do this with multiple people, and it went really fast, and I was really blown away with how fun it was.
So overall, for the activities and the entertainment on board Icon of the Seas, I'm going to give it a 4 out of 5 stars. Next, let's talk about a few other venues on board the ship that are pretty important, or at least important to me. So let's start off with the gym. So I always like a good gym. I like to make sure that the cruise ship has a nice enough gym, and Icon of the Seas had a great gym. I was a little underwhelmed with the size of it. However, it had great machines, everything that you need. It did feel a little crowded on sea days, but you're going to get that with any cruise gym. I really liked how the upper level you have a stretching area, consultation desk, and what I really like that Icon has that no other ship that I've seen has is water fountains. So usually it's hard to find a place to refill your water. You have to go to the Windjammer or special places. All around Icon of the Seas, they have the water fountains that refill your water bottles, and I thought this is game changer. Like, I'm a big water person, I'm a big gym person, and so it was really, really nice to be able to be working out in the gym and just refill my water bottle like nothing. I really liked this gym. I do really like the track. I like the track on these mega ships because it goes around. You get to see the sea, you get to see the ocean, and I really enjoyed walking along the track. I walked probably about an hour one day, and it was just so nice. It's not too hot, it's not too crowded. Love this track. Another venue that's pretty important to me that kind of is a game changer, especially if I have a drink package, is that juice bar. So usually this is located outside of the gym. On Icon of the Seas, it was located outside of the spa. So the gym and the spa are on opposite sides of the ship, and the juice bar was outside of the spa. I absolutely love the juice bar. I like to get fresh juices. You can get protein smoothies, stuff like that. But this is such a nice touch. I think that it's a game changer for any ship I go on, especially if I'm trying to be a little healthy during the day. You can get waters and coffees here as well. Just know it's a little laid back of a bar, like they're not any rush. So if you're in a rush, it might not be for you. But if you're wanting a fresh juice every day or a protein smoothie, they do have a nice one on board Icon. Another venue that I thought was pretty cool that Icon has is the whole Surfside area. And this is basically where the boardwalk would be on an Oasis class ship. And this is just an entire area for kids. So the Adventure Ocean is actually right before you get to Surfside. And so really the back of this ship is just for kids. And I absolutely love this concept because when you're on the other parts of the ship or running around the ship, there's not as many kids because kids are there. I will say this ship had the most kids I had ever seen on a cruise, and it was kind of a game changer mentally. Having kids is fine. We always plan to have kids on cruise ships, especially these mega ships, because they're catered to families. However, since this ship is so big, so family oriented, this has the most kids that you will ever see on a cruise ship. So just take that in mind. Since there's more kids, it was very loud. Even in specialty restaurants, every single dinner we were at, there were screaming kids, they were crying, it was loud. There's always kids running around. So keep that in mind that if you want a quieter, more, intimate cruise, Icon of the Seas is not going to be it for you. But it is such a great cruise, and there are spaces for adults, there are spaces for kids. So just keep that in mind. Okay, now let's get into the casino. So before coming on board Icon, I was pretty excited to take a look at the casino. I personally don't really gamble. However, on this cruise, I wanted to gamble and see how high I can get my status. And so I was pretty excited because all of the other casinos on like the Oasis class ships, the mega ships are pretty cool, pretty big. This one I was so disappointed with. Like this is probably the worst casino at sea that I've ever witnessed for a couple of reasons. One, they did not have enough tables. For them having such a big casino, there was not enough table games. My husband likes Ultimate Texas Hold'em, and he could never really sit down and play for the entire week. And multiple people had that problem as well. So that was a big down. Also, the way that this casino was ran was not very well run either. Like, never really saw the casino host. The way they had their games, the way they had their tables laid out was just not very smart. So we found that often this casino felt way too crowded, even on like port days. It's just not cool. You couldn't even find a slot. I tried to start my slot journey on this cruise, and I felt it like it was really difficult to even play for like 30 minutes at a time because it was way too crowded. I couldn't really find um, a game that I liked, and my husband couldn't sit down. So it was kind of like very hectic and chaotic as well. The bar in the casino was also really too small. Those poor bartenders, like they could not get it together. They couldn't make drinks. When I did find a game at a slot, I ordered a drink and ended up waiting like 35 minutes just for it, and I ended up just leaving, like getting it going. Yeah, so the casino bar was not very well run as well. I think this is the worst casino at sea because the way it's run. I think if they add a few more table games or table games that people actually want to play, this could be a complete game changer. Another venue that I obviously have to talk about is our room. So I really did like our room on board Icon. We did have a balcony, and I will say what I like most about our room is that we got to pick where it was, and we picked on deck 8. The reason I like deck 8 because no matter which side of the ship you're on, in order to walk across the ship, you walk through Central Park. It's really nice. It's really quiet. You can't really go wrong walking through the park. It's just such a great location. We were in the back of the ship, which was 2 stories above Surfside. So I was very curious to see if we were going to be able to hear the loud kids that were in Surfside. We weren't able to hear kids at all from our room. We had such a great location, and I was very impressed with the room. It was pretty spacious. Like, it actually felt way bigger than a regular balcony that I've been on before. So I was really impressed with that. I did like the bathroom. I liked the shower and that there was a little bench in there that you could sit or shave your legs on. So I was really impressed with that.
So we had a regular or traditional balcony, which we prefer for warm weather or Caribbean sailings. And on Icon, there are both traditional and infinite veranda balconies. I recommend traditional for warm weather and infinite for winter sailings.
One thing that I will add is I'm still kind of in shock that these cruise ships don't have TVs to where you can log into your own accounts like Netflix. I think that it's kind of a no-brainer for them to start adding like Netflix or Hulu that you can just log onto. I guarantee you, like, your guests will think it's a game changer. It doesn't really cost you much. I would like to see this though. I would probably spend more time in my cabin watching shows. And I would really, really like that. If you could log in, log out, it would be a game changer and it doesn't really cost you anything. One last thing that I'm going to add in with the venues is the elevators. So these do have those elevators where they have different banks, and you press what floor you go to. It tells you to go to a certain elevator, and then you go to the floor. These are game changer. I ended up loving these elevators because you didn't get an elevator and didn't go floor to floor, or you don't have to worry about kids getting in the elevators and pressing all the buttons. These were game changers. Best elevators at sea, fastest elevators. We never had one elevator where we were like disappointed. I also felt like these elevators were slightly bigger, which was obviously very nice because there were more people on board. Yeah, these elevators were absolute game changers. Now, to end this review, I'm going to throw in a few things that I thought were game changer and that were really cool or not cool for Icon of the Seas. And I'm going to start off with the announcements. So the first day of the cruise, they made one announcement and said, basically, we're going to make one announcement at the beginning of the cruise, and that's it. So they didn't have every morning announcements, which I thought was great. There was only one announcement at the beginning of the cruise, maybe one at the end, and that's it. And I thought this was absolutely awesome. If you did want to sleep in, um, there was no announcements that were interrupting. They only did a crew drill one of the days. I think it was the day in Coco Cay or a different popular port, so they knew people were going to be off, which was so smart of them.
I did get the sense that this was definitely a party cruise. So people were up very late, sleeping in, and those no morning announcements were definitely appreciated by us after those late night parties.
Another thing that I really didn't like, and this is all royal ships, is that you still have to check out pool towels. So it's kind of just annoying. It's not really a big deal, but it's annoying to have to go find a towel station. You have to have your card with you. You have to check it out, check it back in. It's kind of just annoying. And I really think that Royal should kind of step it up and, take after the other cruise lines. Um, I don't think people are really stealing the towels, so let's just get away with checking in and out. Now, one of the last things I'm going to say might offend some people, and I don't want to offend anyone. I do want to start off with saying that I love kids. I have kids myself. However, this ship had way too many kids. I don't know if it was the mixture of too many kids and parents like clocking out. It seemed that even in specialty restaurants or adult areas like at the bar, there were always kids that were crying, screaming, running around. And I think it was both a mixture of their kids. So, of course, that's what they're going to do. But also, it seems like on this certain ship, like parents wanted to clock out. Parents were letting their kids run wherever. I think staff was letting them run wherever. And I do get it. This is a family focused cruise. But as well, I do think that, there should still be those standards at certain places like the bars where kids should not be running around taking the whole area. So I found there was way too many kids. Especially in those specialty restaurants, I was pretty disappointed that, you know, we had a few dinners where it was kind of ruined because there were screaming kids. Parents didn't care, workers didn't care. And I get it, they're paying extra, but so am I. So just keep that in consideration. If you do take your kids on vacation or on a big cruise ship like this, you still need to parent or at least take them to the kids club. So who is Icon of the Seas for? Who is this cruise for? There are multiple answers to this question. So if you want activities, fun-filled stuff, lots of food, lots of entertainment, a great time, a lively time, late nights, then this is for you. If you're wanting a cruise that's kind of more intimate, quiet, less children, less loud, this is definitely not the cruise for you. However, I think that everyone should try Icon of the Seas. It was an absolute game changer. I will say that I think that this class of ship is my absolute favorite. Even after only being on it for 1 week, I think it's my absolute favorite. There's so much to do. What I like is it's so classy. There's so much to do. There's so much to eat, so much to drink. Like, there's never a time where you're going to be bored. However, there are a lot of kids and family, and it's really loud, not very intimate at all. So keep that in mind. So if you want a fun, late night, lots of food, great entertainment kind of adventure, then this cruise is definitely for you. My favorite part of Icon of the Seas was just the overall ship and ambiance and being able to come on here and enjoy all of the venues. Please let me know what your favorite part of Icon or Star of the Seas is down below in the comments. I would love to hear from you guys. If you guys found this video helpful or enjoyed it at all, please give it a thumbs up and don't forget to subscribe so you're always updated with all things cruising and travel. Don't forget to always seize the day, and I'll catch you in the next one.